Hi, Shifties. We've got a quick update for you. The Shift podcast is taking a little break for the summer, but don't worry. We'll be back in the fall with all new episodes. In the meantime, we won't leave you hanging. What we'll do is be replaying some of our most popular episodes so you can catch the ones you missed or revisit your favorites. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in the fall. The Shift is brought to you by Joy Metrics. Welcome to The Shift. I'm Dr. Andrea Coyle. Welcome back. I am really excited for this episode. I have a kindred spirit in Dr. George. She and as you all know, I was a magnet program director for over 15 years. I love that role. I think that role really gave me the opportunity to shift in a lot of different directions, and it afforded me the opportunity actually to travel internationally. And it's just a great role. So we're going to talk to Dr. George. We're just going to riff. We're going to have a good time. But remember, Shifties, we're here to keep you interested, involved, and inspired. So with that, Dr. George, will you tell the Shifties a little bit about yourself?
Thank you very much, Dr. Andrea Coyle, for having me here in this episode of yours. I have heard your podcast and I love the energy that you bring and highlighting the professionals. A little bit about me is when I say in one word, I'm a learner. And it's a lot of stories behind where I am today in my role as Magnet Program Director. It all started from India. Being in healthcare, nursing was my first profession and still it is, but the opportunities that it has brought me to work in multination and different healthcare organizations, and that has changed my perspective about healthcare and how our knowledge and experience and expertise can be used for not only where we are working but beyond that in healthcare professional organization out in the community. So if you ask me to talk a little bit about myself, it is the journey started as a military nursing officer training. So I got the military nursing training as well as an officer training. So early on leadership training, early on leadership roles as a young person. And from there, some experience in Kuwait, then in US in various different fields. And here I am working in a large healthcare organization called Texas Health Resources. I work in their corporate system. I have a dual role as a clinical excellence program manager for the system and as magnet program director for two entities locally. So those are my, the like the journey in nutshell from where I started and where I am today.
Wow. So, Dr. George, you've had a lot of shifts in your career. And I think really that's the reason why I thought about the shift, the name for the shift, the podcast. We really want to shine a light on all the right, and we want to encourage nurses to get into nursing, stay into nursing, but recognize there are so many things you can do as a nurse. And one thing that for the shifties, the one thing that Dr. George and I were talking about before we started recording the podcast is, um, I said, Dr. George, do you want me to call you Dr. George? And she said, yes. And I want you to tell them, Dr. George, what you said. And it led into a really cool conversation. So as I said, do you want to be called Dr. George? And you said,
Yes, and that's how I tell others to be proud of who you are and be proud of your achievements. And education is one of the things that you worked hard. How many years it has taken for you to get that? And doctoral degree is the terminal degree, as we all know, the highest degree anyone can achieve in the education world. And as a magnet program director, I have learned and know the value of education, certification, and all that goes behind this. For some, it's just a degree behind the name, but those who know, but the work behind that degree comes with a price, comes with all that you have achieved. Then you do not have to tell who you are. Okay, so for that matter, even whether you're a medical doctor or a doctor in philosophy or any kind of doctoral degree you have, be proud to own that and tell the world that you have gained that expertise. And previously, my understanding or my own when I was younger, like, not to show off, especially coming from an Asian, background, like we do
mhm.
not focus ourselves, or we do not want that attention on ourselves, kind of like a humble culture. And so it was not easy for me. But after coming to US and understanding the value on this and seeing all these achievements of my colleagues or professionals out there and knowing the value behind it, then becoming a magnet champion, coming to the magnet world and promoting that, right? And highlighting people in the role they are. And eventually, when I became in this role and got my doctoral degree, it became my job to enhance that for others and telling people to be proud of who they are. It definitely shifts that confidence. It
Yes.
definitely shifts that when you own things, you have a responsibility to. Every achievement brings a responsibility. So that's why I will tell everyone, if you have a doctoral degree, do not be afraid to put your DR in front of your name and to call yourself as or introduce yourself as Dr. So and so.
I like to say name it, claim it, and tame it. And we need to claim that it's a lot of work. And it doesn't matter if you have an associate's degree in nursing, a bachelor's degree in nursing, master's, DNP, PhD. They're all hard programs. I was an associate's degree nurse for many years. Went back to school, got my bachelor's, got my dual master's, got my DNP, and every part of my leadership journey took a shift. It was hard. And I just think we have a profession that affords us the opportunity to continue to learn. I believe that nurses are lifelong learners. With the advancement
Yes.
in technology and how technology is integrated into care delivery, we are lifelong learners as nurses.
It's
And
very versatile too. It's dynamic. No other profession is like this. You want to go in administration? Do you want to go into education? You want to stay in the clinical field and be called an expertise? Practice as nurse practitioners. So that's the beauty of nursing profession.
the shift is brought to you by SE Healthcare. Do you know your current burnout level? Almost 70% of hospitals and healthcare systems can't answer this question. What we do know are the devastating results of burnout: increase in turnover, increase in medication errors and missed care, a decrease in the patient experience, and a decrease in quality outcomes. SE Healthcare can help with our evidence based approach. Leaders can enhance nurse satisfaction and nurse engagement, improve quality care outcomes, and reduce burnout by 52%. Are you ready to uncover burnout's impact on your team? Visit us at sehealthcaresolutions.com/talk. You said that so well. I want you to talk to us a little bit, Dr. George, about have you ever practiced in India?
Yes, I did in clinical practice for a short time. I would say that was like for a year and a half, and predominantly that was in the spinal cord and orthopedic. Military setup is kind of little different. So that was my initial clinical practice. And from then afterwards, I went completely into leadership roles before coming to US. And after, some of the clinical practice, I like came back to clinical practice after 13 years when I started. I would say that restarted from ground zero when I came to US in 2002. And I did in rehab for some time, but I always wanted to go back to clinical practice and neonatal nursing. And that is tough, right? But I am a learner. So I said, you know what? That's where I want to. I worked through that, found ways to get into a neonatal unit. It's not easy to work in a neonatal ICU. But for me, it was very clear that's what I wanted to. Without any experience, I was able to get into because my manager at that time who interviewed me saw that passion in me. I went and took that internship program and then became that level 4 neonatal ICU's NICU nurse, and within 2 years, I got my certification. And when I moved to Texas, I worked for, I believe, 13 years in total. I worked in clinical practice, and in that, I worked a lot of night shifts too because when my kids were young. So a lot of high intensive clinical practice I've had, but predominantly most of my experience is in staff development and professional development and leadership. So I love that variety, not only from this country, from some other countries too, plus the variety of clinical education, administrative experiences that I've had. So I consider myself very fortunate for that matter.
That's wonderful. And you just said something, you reminded me that I also, when my children were little, I worked the night shift. Is there anything that you could tell night shift nurses that are working night shift as they raise children? How can they keep inspired and motivated to continue to work on their own professional growth and development? I know when I worked a night shift and had young kids, it was sometimes really hard to keep my eye on the prize. Do you have any suggestions?
Dr. Coyle, this is my favorite subject because that's how I inspire and motivate others to, because I have lived through it. The hindsight, I know what worked well for me. At that time, I didn't realize as a young nurse, as a young mother, because when you are young with less experience, or especially if you're like me coming and restarting in another country, your focus is on getting settled, to know the ways, to learn new culture, your work environment. On top of that, through a young family, I got two young ones. And that's when I started all this neonatal ICU, and that itself was brand new for me, right? But working night shift, one thing as professionals, be it a nurse, any other clinicians, or any other professionals, never stop learning. Okay, you have to learn anyway as a nurse, right? You have to keep up with your competency, you have to learn your technology, you have to learn what's the latest evidence-based practices out there to keep up with all that changes that get thrown at you. So I truly believe every nurse has that capacity to learn. Number two is every nurse is a leader. Even if you realize or not, eventually you will get thrown into a leadership role. You are an advocate for patient. Even if you say, I'm just a bedside nurse. And by the way, I do not believe in just a bedside
I,
nurse. A bedside nurse has a powerhouse, of capabilities that they have as an advocate, as a leader who can make a change through evidence-based practice, doing a project in a thing that's not working in their unit. So, what worked well for me is anything that my organization shared, the program for development or for education. If you're working in a healthcare organization, any field, and if you're working in a good organization, you will definitely have all these opportunities. These opportunities are there for everyone. So, how I kept up with is that anything that came free in my field, not only what is mandatory, but like, hey, there is an opportunity. I got like enrolled in research because I wanted to learn more about research. Then became CPR instructor, stable instructor. So what happened is these were accumulating as an activity for me to get up on the ladder system. Our organization is a clinical ladder system. So soon I was level 4. Because I had a master's at that time, I was leading committees. I was able to become a level 6. I was also involved in the community. Even when your kids are young, get involved in the school. You are close to your kids' school. You are in a committee there. You are developing a lot of leadership skills there. Give back your skills in volunteering in the community. I have done a lot of volunteering along with my kids. So you are not only teaching your kids. My golden rule is practice what you preach. I never tell anyone that to do something that I'm not myself comfortable or I have not done. So it was showing and telling basically for my kids and for their sake. And it became a practice. And the same thing happened in my work. For those 13 years I worked night shift, Dr. Coyle, I tell you, there's nothing that I have not done. And you will not believe that when this opportunity came for me to become a magnet program director, I was not holding in the US any formal leadership role. I was considered as a leader pretty much because of the clinical leader ladder program. I was on the highest on the clinical ladder, was leading system level committees, leading entity level committees, was considered as an expert resource for, in fact, the career advancement programs. I was leading that. So becoming a leader in Magnet and becoming a leader in the career advancement, a lot of professional development opportunities, I became expert and I started sharing that with others. And others said, like, well, in the short term, how did you get to do all those things? Most of the time, people do not take advantage of this opportunity. So I tell people, do one thing at a time along with your kids, along with it, do one thing extra in your workplace, one course, one day, like put the professional development goals and one thing in the community. You're building up all these skill sets. You're putting tools in your toolkit to become a
Mhm.
leader or to become whatever you aspire to become. So that's my mantra.
I love it. And you said something else. I had this wonderful person that saw something in me when I started my magnet program director role. And I feel like in healthcare, sometimes there is some opportunity that when we see potential in another person, we owe it to that person to provide that courageous feedback, to provide that little little extra nudge, because sometimes we don't see that in ourselves. Is there is there someone right now that you see great potential in, and have you shared that with them?
Oh, yes, that has become now my present passion. Like, I feel it's my time now to give back and develop leaders. And personally, that gives me the most joy in my current work. I've been in this role as you yourself as a magnet program director. You know that once you leave that entire cycle, and I've done this for multiple times because as a system leader, we are able to be participating in multiple magnet journeys and writing these documents. The joy that brings me the most is developing next generation leaders or identifying these potentials. That manager who saw the potential in me without any clinical experience, that 1.5 years, trusted me to be working in a neonatal ICU. I want to be that leader to identify potential and bring, especially the leaders. So things that I tell them to do is, start becoming part of a committee member. Okay, show up. Showing up is very important. You show up and you participate meaningfully. You have a voice. Your voice matters, right? So
Right.
speak up. What's working for your clinical field? Speaking up in the break room is not going to take anywhere else, right? Speak up in the committees, participate in your professional governance structure where your voice matters. Know the structure of your organization where you can step up and be that voice for your peers, for your patient, for yourself. Eventually, you will become that, advocate. You become that leader. Oh, she is good at something. Have you considered becoming a co-chair for this committee? That's how it all started with me.
Me
Now I,
too.
yes, it makes. That's how I started planting now the seeds. I see young dynamic professionals. In fact, I love these Gen Zs and millennials who are now, coming up in our profession, and millions are becoming leaders, right? So early on, I'm able to tap these talents and prepare them to guide them. I tell them, set up a meeting with me, and that's like a big joke in our workplace that you go to VG's office and come back transformed. And they call me transformational leader for a purpose, saying that I inspire them. And that happens because someone else has done that for me. They have mentored me, they have seen that in me. And it's my duty now to do that for others and prepare them. And everyone wins. That person wins, you as a magnet program director wins, your organization wins, and the outcome is tremendous. We have great results because of this practice.
And I think, yes, I love what you said. And everybody wins. And most importantly, when the people taking care of the people feel inspired, involved, and interested, patients, society, they get what they deserve. And that's what keeps most nurses or care providers in their roles and loving what they do, because that's what we all signed up to do. We want to take care of people. And I think about this, when people are starting to feel that little twinge of burnout, that's when it's most important to have a good mentor, to have a great preceptor, to have a positivity buddy to say, I want to go to VG's office. VG's going to give me some inspiration. She is going to help me solve this problem. These are the type of strategies that help decrease burnout. And as you know, SE Healthcare, where I'm the Chief Clinical and Innovation Officer, we're laser focused on burnout.
Yes.
Burnout, it's happened to me multiple times in my career. And early on in my career, we're going back 30 years, I didn't even know burnout had a name. I don't even think
Yes,
I called it
right.
burned out 30 years ago. I think I
Yes.
was just disgruntled and grumpy. Who knows? I don't know. But I feel like it's also up to all of us to create this culture of awareness of what the signs and symptoms of burnout look like, sound like, feel like, so that we can help people diminish their burnout. Because what we don't want is for all these great providers to leave our profession. And
I agree, 100% agree with you. And Andrea, you said a good thing, that realize that early on and connect with the person that you look up to and
Mhm.
see how they have managed. When you mention about burnout, and thank you for all that you do, and SC Health does that for taking care of the people and knowing and bringing these resources that you're bringing to the community of nurses. So I really applaud you for that and for all your effort, because your expertise and knowledge from both perspective, being a nurse and now being a leader and now coming with all these resources, is truly valuable. And that's how I felt like, like I connected with you too. That's how we both connected, correct? So one thing I tell people about burnout is they do not understand what they're going through. Studies say that when you are in the same position or work situation for 5 to 7 years, you feel that restlessness. It's kind of like you become expert and still that satisfaction is not there for you to find the joy to go to work. And when you start feeling that, you need to address that. Otherwise you become unhappy and that shows around you, and your life becomes kind of like autopilot mode. I tell people that's the most dangerous time to be on. You become grumpy with your family members, you become grumpy with your colleagues, or even it starts showing that you're just coming to work, you're not coming to work joyfully. That's the time you need to reevaluate, step back. Am I still wanting to do this what I did? Because I remember that I've thought becoming a neonatal nurse, NICU nurse, was my dream job, 100% satisfaction. Andre, you do not believe that people used to come, we used to have NICU reunion. Parents will bring their little babies and for a NICU reunion and show them, oh, remember this nurse's face? This is VG who saved your life. And I'm just one person in a big team. But something connected with that family member, that mother, the father, made that impact. Where are you going to get that kind of a recognition? No other field in nursing. Many people may feel that in the cancer or ICU setup, but someone like this to come back and telling your kid this is so it was like, oh my God, they're putting me, but that's a responsibility I have. So I had such tremendous joy, tremendous, I took pride in what I was doing every day, and soon becoming level 6 or achieving, and then it was a plateau, not further growth. Is I was feeling restless, and I'm thinking, VG, what is it? You should be happy. This is what you work for entire life, and you're earning well, you're doing so well, you're precepting others, you're teaching stuff, you're heading committees. And I thought I'm going to retire there, but then what do I do next? And that's when I was thinking of getting back to school to teach, because I love teaching, and getting in a lot of other professional organizations to get to know what else is out there. I started looking just to, and my kids were growing up too, like they were not needing much, so you have no time, right? So that's when I got this. In fact, like this opportunity came to me. I tell people like most of my opportunities was just, it's out there and it came to me. But now I see all those opportunities out there. When you start feeling that burnout, that restlessness, it's a time, take a pause and think about what is that next 5 years look for me, where I feel more joy, energetic. And I found that in my life now. And I think I constantly seek that innovation. I constantly seek learning, intentionally meet new people, professionals, programs, get active out there, becoming uncomfortable in a place that I'm not familiar with, and then learn about it and become comfortable. Nothing else matters. So I'm learning these things, and now I'm sharing and teaching others. If you really want to become a leader, if you really want to become an expert, if you really want to grow, not to be complacent or be on that autopilot mode, what are those steps? And that's giving a lot of joy these days.
Yes. And you know what, VG, what we usually do at the end of the podcast is we share a few tips with the shifties, again, to keep them interested, involved, and inspired. Let's talk about, we're both magnet program direct. Well, I'm not in that role any longer. Um, we have a lot of, some of the things you said, I could relate to 100%. People, it was the joke where I worked. Go ask Andrea if you need some advice or some career coaching, go see Andrea. And it sounds like you're the same person. So we're cut from
Yes.
the same cloth.
And PDs are special, right? You
Yeah.
need a special people to become, you're like the cheerleader for others. You cannot do this if you do not have that for yourself and for
Yeah.
others. You have to love people. Yes.
You have to love people and you have to be patient. So if we could share with the shifties, two takeaways. What would be two takeaways, VG, that you would share that's really created you to shift in your leadership journey?
Thank you. Thanks. That's a very important thing to ponder and a great question. And as your program says about shift, I would say that's like a multiple time I've had that shift in my life and career, leaving one country, another country early on. I want to, before I go toward those takeaways, I just want to tell like I was 23-year-old when I was a program director for nursing assistants as a military nursing officer, given this responsibility of leading a group of men who were double my age and double my size at that time, I would say. But feeling that my leader had that confidence in me that I will be able to enable me to do well. So started that and was able to. From there, I left and started in Kuwait in starting a hospital from ground zero along with our world class leaders. I was in my late 20s, starting from zero, like leaving everything in my life to, but knowing that I'm not alone, it is a whole team of experts out there and working with them. We were in the staff development at that time, starting the hospital from scratch, building models of care, policies, protocols, staffing, every name it like what it takes. That was a great experience early.
Mhm,
That's where I first learned about change management. That
mhm,
all these experts are there together, but how to come all together, and this is a new change for this hospital or organization, and the steps in that change to deal with this diverse group of team. And from there coming to us again, starting as a med tech because of the visa process, and it's different when you come in as a, even as a legal and immigrant with your I came with a professional degree and a professional certification to work, but I did not have the USRN license. So starting that again zero, and believe me, starting and within a few months getting into work in the neonatal ICU because I believed I can do right. And then thought I'm going to retire in NICU, and when someone else saw that in me as a magnet program director, she'll be good. And now I feel very comfortable in this role. Someone believed in me. But there are some things that you need to do on your own too, right? Others can pull you only so much,
mhm.
but you have to do something. So my takeaway for everyone would is that never stop learning. Never stop learning. Usually I tell my, this is my 3L mantra. I say, learn, love, and live, right? So learn whatever that is that you love. Okay, you need to know, do not presume. If it's work, love your work by learning the things that will make you an expert, or learning the aspects that will, otherwise that's not for you. Nothing is not for everyone. So love what you do, or don't do it. There's so many other things you can do as a nurse. Don't be feel that stuck or that burnout stage that you mentioned about. Don't get burned out. Move out and live your life to the fullest. You have to live. It's a journey, right? And finally you find the joy because you become comfortable, you become expert, you feel that you are meaningful for someone else, something else you're contributing. So until unless you learn and you love what you do and you're living that, be that living, live and show others, and then it becomes like a joyful journey for you, no matter what profession you are, what stage of life you are. And I'm constantly practicing that. There have been challenges. I'm not saying that it's a smooth ride. There will be tribulations, challenges, problems. But as a learner, either you'll find on your own or you will find someone who has done this before you, and you can always learn as a team. So that's what I will tell. Learn, love, and live your life.
I love it. Love, learn, live your life. Words from Dr. George. I hope each of you, all the shifties, take that seriously and take note. So, with every episode, I always end up by saying, shifties, remember, your shift makes a difference. Dr. George, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, I'll have you come back in a couple months. Would you be interested in coming back and doing another podcast with me?
Definitely. And thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Call, for inviting me. Best wishes for all your ventures. Best wishes for your podcast. And thank you, Shifties, for listening to this episode with Dr. Coyle and me. And I wish you all the best. Again, I would say that never forget to live your life. So learn, love, and live. Bye bye.
Enjoying the shift? Help us reach more nurse leaders by rating and reviewing us on your podcast app. It takes just a minute, but makes a big impact. Search for The Shift, tap those stars, and share what you love. Your feedback shapes our future episodes and helps others discover us. Remember, rate, review, and amplify The Shift today.